So welcome back to FKB Physio Podcast. This is episode 7. So as promised, this is the audio of Alex and my Instagram live that we did. I think it was earlier this year, it could have even been last year, talking about physio and Pilates. So if you know me, you know that I'm not really into Pilates. But Alex is the one person who makes me want to do it or want to refer patients to do it or tell friends to do it. The way she talks about it, I have never heard anyone else talk about it like that. Actually, I take that back because I met her friend Jess when I was in Newcastle about a month ago for my business mentorship group meeting, and Jess talked about it like that as well. Too bad they both live in Perth and I live in Brisbane, so I can't actually refer any clients to them because they do make Pilates sound like this really great thing, but in a very different way to how it is marketed generally, I would say, and especially in relation to physio. So very interesting conversation if you're someone who likes Pilates or if you're someone who, like me, historically doesn't, just to get a bit of a different perspective. So just a bit of history for anyone who doesn't know how Alex and I know each other. So Alex and I both moved to Kuwait for different reasons, I guess. And Alex was working in another physio practice over there. And then I think we went to like a rugby game or something, which I have to say, going to a rugby game in Kuwait and there being all these Australians there is an interesting experience. And then I guess we just were like, oh, we're both Australian physios, and then became friends.
I think somebody told me, somebody pointed you out to me, and I was like,
okay,
there's an Australian female physio here, and I was like, hello, you don't know me, but I feel like we should be friends.
Yeah, so thank God for your extroverted personality. And then you came and started working at Elite with me, which was awesome.
Yeah.
So just to give a bit of my history about Pilates. When I was in third year physio, I did a popular branded Pilates for physios because I thought it might be good for my job, and I already teach group fitness, and so I thought this would be a good thing for my career. And it was mat work and reformer, and I took it to the gym Good Life that I worked at. I would do these massive mat Pilates classes for 30 or 40 people. And they loved it, and they were like, oh, you know, all the reasons why we're doing stuff, and it's great and whatever. And then in my jobs, I would do the same sort of thing. And then I had a job in Melbourne where we did it on the reformers, and they had a trapeze table and stuff. And I did feel like I don't really know what I'm doing. And they had those posters up with all the different exercises you could do. And I'm thinking, well, we never do those. And then a client at one point was kind of like, you know, the way you guys are doing it is not the same as how these amazing Pilates instructors who've had hundreds of hours of training are doing it. And I felt uneasy. And then when I moved overseas, I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to do that now. And then when I started strength training, I moved further away. Then when I met you, and you think like me, and you're a physio like me, and then you could do all this awesome stuff on the reformers, and you didn't sort of phrase it as Pilates is this magic rehab tool. You were like, Pilates is to show you what your body's capable of. I thought, oh, okay, that's different. You're the first person who made me think it had lots of value. So Alex is physio, obviously, degree in dance, master's in physio, and then more than a 10-year history of teaching Pilates.
Yeah.
So how'd you come to that?
So when I was a teenage dancer, I injured my back. Trying to do too many back bends that I didn't have the strength or flexibility for. Yeah. And my physio put me on the reformer as part of my rehab process. So that was my initial introduction, was from a physio. And then I sort of dabbled in and out of Pilates when I was dancing. Kind of didn't really pay it too much attention, was too busy having fun doing lots of other things. But then when I decided to become a physio, wanted to get my qualifications so that I could teach Pilates while I was studying physio. And then I thought, when I get my real physio job, I won't teach Pilates anymore. But I didn't account for the fact that I would just fall in love with teaching Pilates and teaching people or being with people when they're moving and discovering movement. So when I graduated from physio, I was working as a public health physio, which I loved, but I was also teaching Pilates on the side as well. So I ended up having 2 jobs, which was really tiring. Yeah. So I wanted to be able to do both of those things, but I wanted to be able to teach Pilates in a way that aligned with my values. Yeah. Which is what we're sort of talking about this this tool of discovery and empowerment rather than like a dictating what somebody's going to do. At the time, I felt like the way that I was teaching Pilates didn't have a lot of progression, and I was always having to like make up new things. I felt like I was always trying to make up new things. I felt like I didn't have a framework to progress people. And I was learning through my physio studies about all of these other exercise modalities like strength training and plyometrics and endurance training that probably were more effective for different goals than the exercises that I was prescribing for people at the time.
Yeah.
So I felt a real disconnect between what I was learning and what I was doing at the time.
Yeah, which I guess is me too, except that unfortunately for me, I didn't clock on to that for literally years. It was only when I think I just found physio so stressful to start with, to like learn how to talk to people. I didn't actually use my brain for ages. But in retrospect, when I think about it, I did feel like we would get clients who had, say, like a flexion-based back pain or injury. I'm thinking specifically of somebody, and they'd hurt their back like every time they do a burpee or something, and then we'd go, oh, we're going to do Pilates. And then it would just be like lying on the reformer doing stuff. And I did think, but how will this get them doing? And I think if I could teach Pilates like you could, with all those different exercises, you would be able to progress them towards like flexion-based stuff. But again, like I just felt, and this might have just been my experience, I can't speak to anybody else, but I felt like if Pilates is about an exploration of what your body can do, the repertoire of exercises that I had access to was so small. Is that common? Like because you probably know way more about what's going on out there. Like what's it like out there?
Well, I think that what you're talking about kind of speaks to this thing that happens where, I don't know how long your courses were, but often, some people, especially if we have an allied health qualification, can go to a weekend course, and as it sort of sounds like you're describing, often that's learning a selection of repertoire for certain pathologies, and then it's out into the big wide world. That unfortunately kind of robs you of the experience of really experiencing in your own body the like breadth of like 500 different exercises across so many different apparatus that Pilates involves. So you don't really, in that short period of time, you can't develop an understanding of how Pilates across the whole studio connects together, and how each exercise connects to the rest of the repertoire and can drive you forward towards those really exciting, not just those exciting movements, but also like a deeper understanding of how your body moves in those foundational exercises as well. So unfortunately, you just can't experience that in a short course. I've been doing it for this will be my 20th year. 20th year with Pilates. Yeah. And
that's a lot.
I've been training in this style of Pilates with my teacher, who's online at Proper Pilates, since 2017. So that's
what's
still like
your
sort of
type?
5 years.
Like, what do you mean? What's your style of Pilates?
Yeah. So there's a broad spectrum, I guess you could say, of different styles of teaching.
Yeah.
Some people are leaning towards honouring and exploring how it was originally designed as a system and taught in Joseph Pilates studios back in the day.
Okay.
On equipment that really closely resembles his original equipment, which has like heavier springs, a lot more feedback and things like that. But there's also other schools that have shot off, that have been influenced by other styles of teaching, other group fitness classes of things as well. So, and then the physios and allied healths have also introduced their spin into things, which is where sort of clinical Pilates and things like that has come in. So there's a lot of different branches that are all related, but you can have a totally different experience turning up to a Pilates class with one person versus a Pilates session with another person. They can be very different experiences for you.
And so I guess to me, the experiences I've had, like there's me teaching clinical Pilates at work, which I do cringe to think about, just from my experience, because I'm someone who I want to know everything and make sure I'm really, I know what I'm doing. And I just felt that wasn't my personal experience. But then again, like I did find, like, say someone post knee replacement or something going on the reformer, it was a really good way to do partial weight bearing. Like there were ways I could just use the equipment that was really helpful. So I suppose I'm exposed to that. I've been to some of those group reformer classes, big ones that are like chain style. Is there a clear difference between clinical versus big group in the gym versus what you do?
I think that if like everything has value for some people, there will be different benefits for all of those different things. So the way that I'm teaching Pilates at the moment is either in a one-on-one setting, but more often than that, it's in a small group setting in the way that I'm learning from my teacher to facilitate a maximum of 5 people all working independently on their own program and all exploring their own bodies and what they're capable of. So less me dictating things to them and more me facilitating their exploration and their progression.
Yeah.
Versus in a group setting, it's often the teacher instructing, like verbally showing or telling everybody to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Often with sort of modifications or variations depending on different bodies. But as you said, sometimes there's a lot of people in the room, so it's hard to cater to everybody's needs in that situation. But those group settings, it's a big social event. There's a lot of people. There's often like music. The atmosphere is really fun. So for some people, that is the value of turning up to the class, like moving your body in a room full of sweaty strangers or people that become not strangers, you build relationships with them. But that doesn't necessarily facilitate the discovery of what your body's up to and provide educational guidance around how to make changes in a way that can happen in a smaller setting.
Yeah, and I guess I'm like consistent for all exercise. Like I teach Les Mills classes to like 30 people and as well, and it serves a direct purpose, but might not necessarily have everything that you could get if you did a one-on-one like personal training session. So what's your favorite thing about Pilates? Like what do you think? Because obviously you've said to me before you're a physio and you have a Pilates studio, but you don't get all your physio clients doing Pilates. So what would dictate whether you get them to do it or not? And who do you think it's really awesome for?
The people who are doing my Pilates are the people that want to do Pilates. If somebody's not interested, then that's absolutely fine. So I'm not dictating to them that they have to join. I'm really lucky that I've got access to a full strength and conditioning gym downstairs. Yeah. So if somebody's goals and preferences about moving their body in a different way, then I want to facilitate that for them, which I think that's my role as a physio, is to meet them where they are and to help them move their body in the way that they want to move. And we can have a discussion around goals and maybe why adding load versus starting to get some distance into their running might be more beneficial, but I'm not going to make someone do Pilates if they don't want to. Yeah. But the people that do want to do Pilates are often, I've got a lot of amazing people at the moment who have been scared to move because of pain or have tried other training sessions and have pulled up really sore or just haven't felt supported. They haven't felt like anybody's been there to listen to them or to help them through. So they're in my class to start trusting their own bodies and to feel like they can start moving forward one itty bitty baby step at a time. And so they can progress. Like we're here for the long haul. We're here to support them long term to help them keep doing what they love forever.
Yeah, which is awesome. And I guess something else I like about your approach is that I know you personally do strength training as well. And so my bias is strength training. And I wondered if you thought, I know exercise is exercise and that anyone doing any exercise is perfect and anyone moving is enough. But I guess, do you think Pilates on its own is a complete exercise source, or do you feel like people might need to add strength training in certain circumstances, or is Pilates enough strength training on its own? What do you think?
I think that it depends on the body. I think that for most people, I would say that Pilates is an awesome base, but then like we know in terms of like strength and bone density that often we want to be adding some other sort of stimulus to their exercise. There are some bodies where the strength of the springs and the resistance that provide, that will be enough load for them to make strength gains if they're working from a certain baseline. But that's not everybody. So I think, again, I'm biased towards a perfect combination of Pilates and strength training and whatever else really fun fabulous things that you love to do, whether it's a walk with your dog or a swim in the ocean. I'm biased towards Pilates as an addition to help you discover what your body can do, to help you do the other stuff that you love to do.
Yeah, which is also the reason I guess that resonates with me so much, is because people discovering what their body can do is also my kind of MO as well. But obviously mine is in a much more just in the gym setting, but it applies. And I think for people, like, I'm very regimented. I just want to squat, bench, deadlift, that's enough. But if people want to go upside down and like do all these cool things, like, if there's anyone watching here who's like an Alex style Pilates instructor improvement, I would love, there must be a million and I just don't know them. You know, I would love to have that option. Like, I have a couple of ladies that do ballet and they did their strength class to improve their strength, but I bet they'd love that as well. Something that I have found a bit challenging over the years is that physio and Pilates have become a thing, and every job ad I looked at was always like Pilates experience preferred. And once I had done this full circle kind of thing where I am now, where I used to teach it and don't, I kind of find it frustrating how Pilates can be marketed as this kind of magic fix-all. And I wondered what your thoughts were on that as a Pilates instructor. Like, where do you think it fits into physio?
Yeah. So I think that there's a few things to chat about in there. In terms of these as a fix-all, that's something that I really struggled with coming out of physio, was kind of learning about different goals and what stimulus was needed to achieve different goals. And at the time, I felt like I was teaching Pilates as this fix-all. And very quickly, I kind of started to get this feeling of like, wait, I don't think that this is true. Like, what am I doing? I don't think that this thing that I've spent the last 5-6 years doing, it didn't feel right anymore. I didn't feel like I was talking about it with integrity. So I went on a big existential journey of being like, what am I doing? And I think the thing for me was realizing that Pilates doesn't have to take the place of strength training. It doesn't have to take the place of mobility training. It doesn't have to take the place of like plyometrics. Like, you don't need to be able to get all of the benefits that you need from this one exercise. Like, Pilates can have its own separate value, and you can go and get those other benefits from those other exercise modalities, which was very freeing to be able to go, I don't need to provide all of the answers to everybody's aches and pains with Pilates. So for me, right now, Pilates is very much about, we've talked about exploration. It's about confidence and building trust within your body. So it can absolutely be like a great gateway for people who are scared, but it can also be an amazing empowering tool for people who are already amazing athletes to like help them build their foundations or get back in touch with their foundations, but also elevate them to that next level as well.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you, just to finish, with a couple of specific questions that I know we've talked about before, just for people that might be interested to know a bit more about Pilates. So I remember being mind blown when I found out that there was an order of the exercises. There's like a set order you're meant to do or something. Can you please explain?
So, and this is part of the way that I teach right now as well. So the order is part of the classical way of teaching, and it's that Joseph Pilates designed specifically the mat exercises and the reformer exercises to be learnt and taught in a specific order. And that order, if you practice it and you roll through it, it's the process of working through that order that allows you to prepare for the next exercises and to discover what you need to be able to achieve the next exercises, so that as you move through it, when you get to those really specky things, you've already built everything that you need to achieve it by working through the order. And so the way that I learn it and the way that I teach it now is that we're working through the mat order, we're working through the reformer order, and then we've got this freedom to explore the rest of the studio, the other apparatus, to work on things we might have discovered about our bodies that we want to work on, or to help build towards certain goals as well.
What are all the apparatus?
Oh, goodness. So we've got mat, reformer, we've got Cadillac, we've got a tower unit, which is kind of a mat and a Cadillac together. We've got a ladder barrel or a high barrel, got a wonder chair, got an armchair, got a pedipole, I don't have one, but there's a guillotine. There's an electric chair.
Oh, guillotine.
Yeah, it looks like a French guillotine. We've got some smaller things about the toe exerciser and the foot exerciser.
Oh.
I don't have a neck stretcher, but I really want one to help. There's like old school ones where you put the loop around your head and the spring. Really good for building like neck strength and connecting like your head and your neck into your back. Into your it's cool. I'll show you some videos of it. But there's a lot.
And like, because when I think about, you know, the classes that Matt Pilates used to teach in the gym and stuff, like they're so far removed from what you're describing. Like, do you think they should have the same name?
So there was actually a court case about that quite a few years ago about someone trying to claim the name of Pilates. So they didn't win that. So it's, absolutely anyone can call anything Pilates.
That's problematic.
Potentially, yes. But I guess, you know, with strength training as well, like, could potentially do any exercise and call it strength training. I think that it comes down to intention and the principles that you're working with. Having said that, I like to be very clear in my sessions with my clients. This is the Pilates that we're working on, and now we're going to go and work on your strength set with this programming, because I do like to have a clear separation so that they can understand the history of what we're working with, and then the benefits of the other thing that we're working with, which might be the strength training or the mobility training as well.
I love how you talk about it. Like, it just makes it sound like something that I just believe in your approach. So I think that's great. And like, thank you for educating me. I have one last question. I remember in Kuwait, there's a particular type of reformer, and you really wanted this special one to come because it had. So which one?
It's the one that I've got. It's the one that I've got now. It's the J Grimes Contrology Reformer. So that was the first Pilates piece of Pilates equipment that I bought for myself. Was the one that I wanted. Yeah.
So is your studio in Perth like your dream now? Like, is it just perfect?
Yeah. It's my color explosion. So I've got some beautiful equipment.
Oh yeah, that wall.
All different colors. Yeah, my color explosion wall.
I love it.
So very.
And obviously, I have my pink physio bed that this is resting on right now, inspired by your teal one, right?
Yeah. Good.
So good. Thank you for talking to me. It's been really nice to speak to you again. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, friends. Good to see you.
Bye.